That way it's not showing my whole countertops and stuff. Hold on top. So we got Mr. Powell coming in at 2:30. All right, let's get it. Stream working. Testing. What? Okay, that's good. Had to make sure. All right, 20 seconds. Yeah, so basically what I'm looking for, let me turn this down, until Powell comes, right? Well, we got a breakdown, or no, not my fault, we got you got breakout, retest, but this wick right here kind of is iffy because it happened in pre-market, so I'm kind of like, they love doing that weird, they kind of leave a wick. That didn't really happen, but I don't know if it's a ghost print
I'm
or
Ian,
what,
and I work for the Federal Reserve, the central bank of the United States. The Federal Reserve System consists of three main entities that perform key functions that serve the public and promote the health of our economy and the stability of our financial system.
Actually still gonna play.
These key entities are the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, 12 Federal Reserve banks operating around our nation, and the Federal Open Market Committee.
All right,
Based
so
in
in this
Washington,
reaction,
D.C., the Board of Governors is the governing body of the Federal Reserve System. It's an agency of the federal government that reports to and is directly accountable to Congress. The board consists of 7 members, or governors, who are nominated by the President of the United States and confirmed by the Senate. Governors are appointed for 14-year terms. The Board of Governors oversees and sets policy direction for the system, including 12 Federal Reserve banks located around the country, which take the pulse of the nation's economic health from a regional perspective. The 12 Reserve banks represent different geographic regions or districts, and were set up based on regional economic considerations. Although supervised by the Federal Reserve Board, the Reserve banks operate independently in many respects. The Reserve banks carry out a number of core system functions, such as supervising and examining commercial banks and other financial institutions, enforcing compliance with federal consumer protection and fair lending laws, while promoting local community development and lending to depository institutions to ensure crucial liquidity in the financial system. They and the board also play a key role in another primary Fed function, fostering the safety and efficiency of our nation's payment systems, including distributing currency and coin to banks.
Can you hear me now? Hold on. Let me know. Yeah, let me know if you can hear me now. There we go. All right. So yeah, basically what I was saying was like, okay, it looks like a double bottom as of now, but we still got to remember we need to reclaim the 5-day SMA before we start going higher, which is weird because this wick, I just don't like it. I'm not a fan, right? Anytime they give us those weird wicks in, before market does anything, I'm kind of like, a little iffy. But yeah. So like I said, if it cannot hold, right, we already got a rejection of the 5 in pre-market, and the market open. So I'm not really, like I said, I'm just not liking longs below the 5-day. Right? If we get, like I said, if Powell starts saying something good and we reclaim, all right, cool, we can try to go long again. But until that happens, I'm not really fucking with the longs right now. So I guess we will have to wait to see what he says, because nothing's going on yet. So yeah, let me see what these boots looking like. All right, so this is how I would play it, right? Like I said, if we do, right, continue below, we get a new low, because that's the whole time. We basically did this yesterday, right? We just bottomed all day, right? Wick, and then popped. So I still, we need to wait for candle closes, because remember, if the candle doesn't close, it's not confirmed, right? A wick isn't confirmation. A 1-minute chart is not confirmation. 5-minute chart is not confirmation, right? We need 15, 30, higher time frame confirmations to say, okay, this level can actually hold, right? Because if it's not, then you just wasting time trying to trade the 1 minute. So see, we got that. That's what I'm saying. We got that rejection. So I'm like, man. Yeah. Plus we got that gap to fill right here, 708.40. So I'm like, if we can fill the gap now and still not necessarily go lower, then it's gonna be iffy about what Powell has to say as far as pumping the market or dumping it. But yeah, we're still just like smack dab in the middle. But this rejection was good though. But like I said, it don't mean anything if we don't get a new low or close, because we've had huge green candle pumps, and then we have huge red candle. Like, it means nothing if it's not continuing in a direction. So best bet, just how long we got to pop a Powell? 24. We got 25 minutes. We chilling. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, other than that, like, yeah, if he ain't really, if he not on nothing crazy, then it's just gonna be another nothing burger type of day, which is crazy because the last few have kind of been like that, which is kind of strange. I'm like, damn. I remember Powell used to move the market crazy. He used to be like, oh shit, Powell, the market's going to hell, or market's going up. But bro ain't really had no movement lately. So I'm like, man, what in the world going on with bro? But it's his last one, it's Powell last one. So I'm like, man, all right, let's see what Mr. Powell about to do. But yeah, so this is a big zoom out, right? We've kind of been in this upwards channel. So the 20-day SMA kind of aligns with the bottom of this channel as well. But you know me, I'm always gonna look at the higher time frames. Yeah, see? This is what we kept rejecting. Rejection. Now we kind of rejected again. So I'm like, okay, if we can actually clear and get a new low, right? Close this gap, we can actually get some momentum going. But yeah, in between, obviously, you always want to stay hands off, especially because you ain't even trying to blow your cash, right? Yeah, see, this is the thing I'm talking about. This wick, I don't like it, because what is this? You know what I'm saying? What y'all got going on, man? What y'all got going on up here? Because this didn't show on, this doesn't show on Webull, doesn't show on Robinhood. Like, I don't know. Well, maybe it does show on Robinhood, I'm not sure. But yeah, I just hate when there's like weird pre-market wicks that you can't really tell if it's a real candle or is it just, see what I'm saying? Like, did they close the gap technically with that candle? And then, okay, we got a gap fill reversal, you know what I'm saying? But we do have this gap down here, so I guess we'll just, remember what I said about the middle? We don't diddle in the middle. No diddy in the middle, man. So anything in here, you can get chopped up. You can get chopped this way, you can get chopped this way, you can get chopped this way. So I might need to go close that door because the construction is out there. That's the only thing about living in downtown, man. You just can't get away from noise. It's just loud. What other y'all playing earnings? I think I'm gonna play Amazon earnings. That's just me. You know what I'm saying? Not financial advice, but that's my chapstick, bro. My lips are dry as hell. Hold on, let me. Error. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain a smooth streaming. What that mean? Y'all can't see me or something? Is it choppy? Hold on. I'm trying to get this fixed over here. Hold on. Oh, let me close Discord, maybe. Too much stuff open. Come on, Mac, y'all gotta lock in. I ain't really streaming nothing for real. Close this. OBS obviously still open. Yeah, I'll close Discord. All right, yeah, we'll just close that. Yeah, see? Yeah, and then we're in this bigger channel as well, so I'm like, all right, how do they want to play this? Yeah, like if we did want to get that retest of the actual breakout, we would come all the way down here, right? Because this is the upper trend line right here, and this is the second trend line. And then we zoom all the way out, we'll see it from here, all right? Yeah, see? So this little megaphone top, you got really two connecting points. So we really kind of been using this to, buy the dip and stuff like that, but it doesn't look like it's wanting to, hold as of now. We got, 20 minutes till Powell. I should just came on in 20 minutes. What y'all doing, man? Calls or puts for Amazon. Personally, I'm going, earnings is always going to be a gamble. You can't really, they could beat earnings and still fall. They could not beat earnings, and so it's all about the guidance. So I'm going, lights. Of course, it's earnings. So I'm never gonna go full size, especially if I don't, I'm not doing enough, due diligence with the company and know they're not, what I'm saying? Like, because nowadays we see that, it can mean nothing. Like Nvidia had, like a record breaking the crazy numbers and it still fell, So, that's what I was advised when it comes to Amazon. Like you just got to be, careful, size to where, it won't really matter. I always would like to use profit. So it's more like, okay, we made X amount this week or today, I'll maybe take, small percent of that, play some earnings. If you lose it, like I played Hood earnings, completely lost that, 100% loss. But, like I said, it was like $100. So, make sure you're playing your risk. Like people who do that full porting into earnings, boy, you gotta have some balls of steel, I swear. But, yeah, let me go close this real quick. Hold on. Y'all keep watching the feed. I'll turn this up, see if he says anything. Uh-oh. Oops. Did we fuck up the oh, there you go. Yeah, like, are we finally gonna come close this damn gap? Yeah, see, like it's just, we're still in the range. We've done nothing. Like especially if you don't look at extended hours. I mean, yesterday, it was a long day, but we still banked on the calls upside. But yeah, not like in this, right? We got this trend line here, right? You did grab a little extra liquidity to Monday, Tuesday, whatever, just to come back down, retest, and we can't claim. Right? Remember, we still have 18 minutes before the candle closes, so you do want to wait for the candle to close. Want to wait for it to close. Trust me, you'll save a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? With candles to close, trying to catch candles while they're open. Like I said, obviously, if it's you've already got the confirmation in the direction. Of course, it's cool. But when you're waiting for confirmation, you're like, oh, I think it's gonna be confirmation right here. Go ahead. Wait. Just be patient. Because sometimes, especially when it comes to FOMC, like first move might not be real, right? They be trying to trigger something like that. So. Be careful, especially in this Powell might say, good afternoon. Let me just come down here, wick, and then, take off or some crazy shit. Or he might say, good afternoon, and then come up, and then he start talking, and then we come down. So, you always got to be prepared for both sides. It can't just be like, oh, I'm overly bearish, I'm overly bullish, you know what I'm saying? Because you end up just not being able to catch trends, you know what I'm saying? Even when we caught the big move, right? Even when we caught the huge push up, right? People who just wanted to short it so bad missed a lot of money because they only had, a plan for one side. They only had I'm just gonna short it. We gapped, we did this, I'm just gonna short, right? No, you can't do that. You need confirmation, right? Even with the breakdown of this level, right? You gotta break down, you got your retest, and did it go lower? Absolutely not, right? Did not close below, right? Didn't clear that wick at all. People still chase these moves because they're like, oh, well, reject, but there's multiple reasons for why that gets betrayed. You can't just be like, oh, we bounced, right? That's not a good enough reason, just that one reason. Or, oh, we rejected. That's not a good enough reason. especially when people want to call double tops and stuff like that. Like, oh, we got double top. Like, zoom out, zoom out. You might just be double top. It might look like a double top, but you might be doing something like this, right? So you got to make sure you're aware of where you are on the charts, especially when you're trying to call reversals and call, come down. Like, I hate to break it to you, but right, we had one of those beautiful bear traps here, right? More bear traps on the way up, more bear traps on the way up, more bear traps on the way up. So we've had a bunch of bear traps that we have been, able to identify and play on the channel and stuff like that. So, I always like to practice what I preach, especially doing daily videos for y'all, going over both sides, because I don't want you to be like, oh, you said the best level to buy calls was 710, and then it crashes through, right? Now I got to give you both sides of it. Even if I love, obviously, stocks, everybody wants their portfolio to go up, right? It's just easy, it's just how it's natural, it's instinct. But for some reason, people just want everything to crash and burn so bad. Like, I understand being pulled back, I understand that, I get it. It is what it is. People are like, oh, you can't go no higher, it's gotta come down. I mean, yeah, but people have been saying that, for the end of 2 weeks. So, it's probably gonna wait till everybody flips bullish and then be like, straight down. Yeah, see, still no close below, just wicked. We got this gap right here too. It's actually yeah. Calls or puts for Amazon. Did I answer that already? I think yeah. I am in calls. Like I said, yeah. I bought some time, lottery. Nothing crazy. Obviously, like I said, they can all go wrong. It's earnings, so don't be going into a full play with earnings and be like, well, you said, no, it's earnings. It's kind of, sometimes there are signs, but, sometimes it's just like, goddamn, yeah, it just looks good, man. I mean, if it's going to stay on this channel, like, best case scenario, we come up here to 285 or something like that, right? Worst case, we pull back into the 245s, or if it's bad, they just dump it back down. So, like I said, all time, contracts are cheap. I'm not using more than, 15% of profit we've made from, today, Monday and Tuesday. So, yeah, nothing crazy. And I want to play meta, but like I said, I'm not. The meta contracts are too expensive. I'm not spending thousands of dollars on one contract. Not for earnings. No, absolutely not. Now, if it was elite, like, and I'm buying a support, for sure, you buy some time, it's gonna cost you. But I'm not gonna be in here. I don't know. All right, we got 15. Alrighty. Yeah, see, still in this megaphone. So obviously we can just, if we cannot. Oh, did we close the gap on that? Don't tell me they tried to wake us out the gap, gang. Nah, man. No way they try to wake us out the gap. But okay, but you gotta remember, so I said you gotta be mindful of where all this stuff is. So this wick, you know what I'm saying, or I don't know, like I said, I don't know if it's a real wick, fake wick, whatever, it doesn't matter. Still came up and closed, somewhat this gap up here. And then this wick right here just closed this gap right here. And like I said, we're still holding above this 709.25-ish, right in the middle, all right? So this is gonna be our key. So anything, if we get that close below and we start being bearish below that, right, 705 is imminent, right? It's literally right there. Next level support, literally clean shot, right? So that's what I'm saying, we don't have to rush this. We don't have to early position, right? Because let's say if you bought in now, or you bought in right at 2, unless, you maybe had like at the money puts or something crazy and you already sold, good majority of people who are chasing zeros are not really green, you know what I'm saying? They probably chase the pump and they try to chase the dump, they try to chase it, you know what I'm saying? So if it's not giving you any kind of confirmation to either side, it's chop, it's middle, you're not playing in the middle. So let's kind of see what it's looking like for on a macro level. Yeah, look at that, we get a nice little macro level from here. Yeah, we use that, perfect. All right, we'll use this, simple. We'll use this because, like I said, it's FOMC, so I will be playing light zeros today. All right, I'm not gonna be playing nothing too crazy. We getting a pump before Powell. Trump, we will be releasing as much as we can on UFOs in the near future. All right, Mr. Sir. All right, so the first move, as we know with FOMC, sometimes is the fake out. So if this is the fake out, obviously don't mind my clothes all up on the counter. I just peeped them in the thing. I just did laundry. I know I said I was gonna fold them this morning, but gotta get on these charts. But yeah, man. So if this is a channel, like I said, we'll wait for one of two things. You're gonna wait for the breakout retest, right? Continuation above, try to come take out the highs, take out the high, you right? Continue up until, however it goes basically above. Where's the 5? Yeah, that's 712. Remember, so that's where if it does pop, you still got to be careful because we need to reclaim that 5-day SMA. So if we do get a pop, anything above here, right? Don't chase that long into the push because basically when Powell's speaking, it adds lots of volatility. So it doesn't necessarily mean whatever the strongest first move is going to be the move. It just means that there's volatility in the market. So same way we got that open and dump, right? It doesn't mean just, it's bad news, just chase puts because you already see we're back at flat, right? So that's why I said, man, just be patient, bro. Whenever you're patient, you literally have no stress. You're chilling, right? You're patient, your mind time. Oh, Amazon calls are up though, pretty good. I'm kind of torn. I ain't lying. I'm kind of torn with Amazon because I'm like, the Amazon contracts are pretty cheap. They're not that bad, right? They're like $100 a contract for earnings. And I bought, I didn't buy. What was it? Which ones did I buy? May 8th. Yeah, so I bought May 8th. So I'm like I got a little time on those. So I'm like, and I feel like Amazon's been doing good, especially with their little AI. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna try to throw a little AI word in there. AI this, AI that. But yeah, so basically, man, all I'm waiting for on this is actually let's turn on the 5-day. There it is. Let's make it bigger so y'all can see it. This right here, this is the main thing I am watching for. This 5-day SMA. We rejected it once, right, during the day. So if we, like I said, if we cannot continue up higher, it's got to be, you got to be very careful with your timing as far as going long below the 5, right? We need this 5 to flip back to support. Basically, everything we've done, so far, we've kind of bought off the 5. Any kind of retest we've got, well, this, like I said, and this is why I said another one about those wicks, man. Like, maybe a little iffy because this is, like I said, this happened pre-market, so it's like we gotta test, but do the wick really, you know what I'm saying? Does the wick really count? So yeah, that's why I said, man, you gotta just watch them candle closures because them wicks can be tricky. Like even this one right here, right? We did catch calls off the bottom of that 702, right? Because we came and tested that that old resistance level that we hadn't tested in normal hours when we tested it at the end of day, that one day where Iran said no and then Trump said yes. We had that, that weird volatility towards the end of the day. But yeah, when we came back and tested it, the candle didn't close, right, anywhere down here. So anyone who was trying to buy puts all the way down here, unless you were quick, you know what I'm saying, quick, took your profit, which most people aren't, right? Most people kind of have that delay where they're like, oh, do I sell? You know what I'm saying? And then by that time, you're trying to wait till the candle closes, and you're like, oh, I was up 50%, now I'm only up 20. Well, let me wait for it to go back to 30, right? And then you go through this constant like, oh, well, I should wait. You know what I'm saying? So then, yeah. So candle closures, the wicks don't mean shit, all right? It can't do nothing with a wick. See, look, again, another reason. That's why I said, even though we opened and started instant rejecting, not touching this, right? Not touching it. We still cannot get a close below here. So that happens, and then they just a little sneaky wick close the gap. So I'm definitely kind of like iffy about these shorts as of now. We got 9 minutes, man. 9 minutes till Mr. Powell himself come on and give us, his farewell. Au revoir. Wiedersehen. Bro finna hit us with the fuck your calls, fuck your puts, fuck it all. I hope you don't flatten us today, man. Boring. Got on here and did nothing. You mentor. Yeah, I do one-on-ones. I don't do like course selling. I'm not gonna sell your course, but I do have one-on-ones. As far as like, teaching you how to chart, teaching you how to read the charts, entries, exits, all that stuff, timing, time frames. Yeah, basically from the ground up. Because I know a lot of people, mostly whenever they hit me up to learn, they're starting from scratch. So yeah, I do, but yeah, not like course-wise. It's just it's one-on-ones. And you can hit me on my Discord too. I think my Discord should be in my links on my YouTube channel or in the description of the video. I'm not really sure, but yeah, hit me on Discord. Yeah, we talk about it. Because that's one thing too, though. Trading is not for everybody, so I can't necessarily say, oh yeah, I'll mentor anybody. Because sometimes after I talk to people, and I'm like, oh, I want to be a mentor, and I'll talk to them and be like, all right, like this is what this is what it's gonna take, and this is what time, this and this. A lot of people be like, never mind, I ain't got time for that, because most people think, oh, you teach them a course, you can teach them how to trade. That means I'm gonna make you profitable instantly overnight. Like, you know how the YouTube traders be, where they be like, this one strategy made me profitable overnight. Like, that shit is cap. That shit is cap. No one ever got profitable overnight. It's not how it works. Not how it works. And if they did, they're probably rich as hell by now. All right, it's just not how it works. Not saying it can't be quick, right? It was very quick for me, to become profitable. But it still took the ups, the downs, the down days. A lot of money given back. So you do gotta be prepared for that. So yeah, when I do take on people to mentor, I do tell them like, hey, this is serious. I'm not gonna, sugarcoat it just so you can pay me to teach you. No, like I'm gonna be straight up with you. Like, hey, especially for newer people when they've like, oh, I've been trading for, a year or two. Of course, I'll be straight up like, look, I don't want you to think this is some magic, like, just because you see me, doing this. I've been doing it for a long time. Like, I can teach you everything in the book except for, patience, your risk. I can verbally tell you, but it's stuff that you still need to, practice. So even when I mentor people, I'm like, hey, this is your homework, right? Do this. Show me some paper trade, like, show me something, at least let me know that you're not wasting both of our time, because I'm not going to be mentoring you if I feel like it's a waste of time, for what do we gain out of this? We're just wasting each other's time and money. So, but yeah, if you're really serious and you really like, trying to lock in for real, yeah, I do, other than that, like, not just for it. Because there's always people who be like, oh, or they'll see like what you have and what you do, and I'm like, oh, you gotta put me on to this trading stuff, you gotta put me on, bro. But then you'd be like, all right, well, this is what it takes, this is what I do, so many hours it took me to get to where I am, and I'm like, can I just buy the plays off? I'm like, you can, but I mean, if you ain't got your mental in check, it's still ain't gonna help you, right? Unless you just, like I said, unless you got something in you where you're like, okay, I'm gonna be patient with this. Because a lot of times, like, I'll be like, hey, let's buy time. Yesterday, hey, let's buy 7:15 calls, 7:12 0DTs, right? We had to wait for damn near an hour before they actually started pushing, and they still ended up going to 200%. I sold at mostly at 80. I sold my last runner at 110. But yeah, like, if it's not, if that's not in you, patience isn't in you. Me giving you a play or me telling you, hey, buy calls here. If you see that go down 20%, 30%, most people mentally, they have a stop loss as far as numbers. Like, I don't do stop losses when it comes to numbers. Like, if I buy a contract for 50 cents, I'm not gonna put a stop loss at 0.4. That's just not how I trade, right? And that's for multiple reasons. One, because high volatility can just fluctuate the price of your contract. One, two, did we break the level, right? Am I wrong on the charts, right? Or did I just maybe get in a little early? And this is why scaling is important. That's why I always say, scale in, start small, wait till you get that confirmation, and then you can add it to the winners, right? Instead of adding to the losers, you can add to the winners, right? It makes more sense, rather than you see your money burning, you just throwing money on the, or do you see your money print, and you like, oh, I'm on the right side. Let me go ahead and lock in real quick, right? All right, we got 5 minutes. And we got the rejection of this level too. So Powell come out, say anything crazy, and we cannot hold. Remember, 705, first target. But yeah, so like I was saying, yeah. So even here, right? Got in early, got in on this candle, had to sit through some drawback, added into full positions, added 1 DTEs, had to sit and wait, right? And they went down, I think, like 30%. But it was, like I said, we were going sideways for a little bit. But we never broke the level. So if we had broke the level, closed below, confirmed, continue, cool, I'll cut, right? I'll cut. But I'm not just gonna cut just because we're not moving. The contract went down, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, yesterday was one of those tests of patience where, like I said plenty of times, set alerts and walk away, right? If you know, hey, my trigger's down here and we lose 709.25, I'm out, set alert at 709.25, you know what I'm saying? And just because even if you do all this, right, you might be watching it. What's wrong, mama? and then get stopped out because you psych yourself out, and then you miss out on 200%, right? So it's always better to wait for, like I said, just wait for confirmation, right? You might have got in a little early, cool. Buy time, doesn't hurt you that bad, right? But people just struggle with patience. They need to trade on the money, they need to trade on the buy. They gotta see everything move. Like, I get it, you can as a day trader, but you gotta be careful. If you catch a move, don't get it back, don't put it back in the market. You know what I'm saying? Most people be up and be like, yeah, putting this shit right back. You know, what's the next trade? You're like, damn, you try to get in the next trade already. You ain't even let this one settle. Like, relax, man. But like I said, you can only tell people so much. It's your money. I can't tell you what to do. But yeah, like I said, just hit my Discord if mentoring is something that you actually want to take serious, right? Because you do have to invest into your own education. You know what I'm saying? It's not so much as one course you guys make a profit. No, it's more education, right? I wish, when I started trading, that I had a tutor or somebody to tell me a lot of stuff that kind of I could have avoided. You know what I'm saying? A bunch of losses I could have avoided had someone taken the time out, or had I taken the time out to, get a mentor or something. But I had to be hard-headed, had to learn, had to bump my head 1,000,000 times, 1,000,005. I'm talking about terrible, man. I had days where I was like, bro, never doing this again, and then just the next day you're just like, all right, shake it off, right? Try not to bring those emotions into the next day. Keep practicing, you figure it out. You stop strategy hopping, right? Like I said in my video, stop strategy hopping. Find you something that works, stick with it, man. All right, so 30 seconds going into this FOMC with Mr. Powell. Let's see if he does us bad. Yeah, like I said, we already know our levels. Anything below 709.25, you need to continue through the low. Not none of this, not none of, you know what I'm saying? No, do not fall for no traps, right? If it's not continuing through this low, retesting, and then coming down to 705, then you might just be at a bottom. So if it comes down here and then they start doing this, right, and you reclaim, and then all of a sudden you're up here, don't be like, oh yeah, and vice versa, right? Just because we start pumping as soon as he's talking, don't bite that bait until we break out, retest, right, and really continue over that 5. That's the main thing I'm looking for. So in this range, obviously you can play the range for sure, but you gotta be quick with this. So I'm gonna quiet down, turn him up. Let's see. He ain't even said good afternoon. Shit already done. I'm gonna close this real quick. I'll be right back. Nothing? Alright, nothing yet. Make sure she's not muted. Are we good? Oh, see, we're already getting moved. He ain't even said nothing. He ain't even said nothing. Alright, yeah, see, we're starting to reject that. But remember, we need a close below. If you do not get it, please don't chase this. Please don't chase it.
Good afternoon. My colleagues and I remain squarely focused on achieving our dual mandate goals of maximum employment and stable prices for the benefit of the American people. The U.S. economy has been expanding at a solid pace. While job gains have remained low, the unemployment rate has been little changed in recent months. Inflation has moved up and is elevated, in part reflecting the recent increase in global energy prices. Today, the FOMC decided to leave our policy rate unchanged. We see the current stance of monetary policy as appropriate to promote progress toward our maximum employment and 2% inflation goals. Developments in the Middle East are contributing to a high level of uncertainty about the economic outlook, and we will remain attentive to risks to both sides of our dual mandate. I'll have more to say about monetary policy after briefly reviewing economic developments. Recent indicators suggest that economic activity has been expanding at a solid pace. Consumer spending has been resilient, and business fixed investment has continued to expand at a brisk pace. In contrast, activity in the housing sector has remained weak. In the labor market, the unemployment rate was 4.3% in March and has changed little in recent months. Job gains have remained low. A good part of the slowing in the pace of the job growth over the past year reflects a decline in the growth of the labor force due to lower immigration and labor force participation, though labor demand has clearly softened as well. Other indicators, including job openings, layoffs, hiring, and nominal wage growth, generally show little change in recent months. Inflation has moved up recently and is elevated relative to our 2% longer-run goal. Estimates based on the Consumer Price Index and other data indicate that total PCE prices rose 3.5% over the 12 months ending in March, boosted by the significant rise in global oil prices that has resulted from the conflict in the Middle East. Excluding the volatile food and energy categories, core PCE prices rose 3.2% over the 12 months ending in March. This relatively high rate largely reflects the effects of tariffs on prices in the goods sector. Near-term measures of inflation expectations have risen this year, likely because of the substantial rise in oil prices. Most measures of longer-term expectations remain consistent with our 2% inflation goal. Our monetary policy actions are guided by our dual mandate to promote maximum employment and stable prices for the American people. At today's meeting, the committee decided to maintain the target range for the federal funds rate at 3.5% to 3.75%. The economic outlook remains highly uncertain, and the conflict in the Middle East has added to this uncertainty. In the near term, higher energy prices will push up overall inflation. Beyond that, the scope and duration of potential effects on the economy remain unclear, as does the future course of the conflict itself. We will continue to monitor the risks to both sides of our dual mandate. We are well positioned to determine the extent and timing of additional adjustments to our policy rate based on the incoming data, the evolving outlook, and the balance of risks. Monetary policy is not on a preset course, and we will make our decisions on a meeting-by-meeting basis. This is my last press conference as chair, and I will close with a few thoughts. First, I want to congratulate Kevin Warsh on his advancement out of the Senate Banking Committee this morning. This is an important step forward, and I wish him well as that process continues. The Federal Reserve exists for one fundamental purpose: to foster the economic conditions in which American families and businesses can thrive. Stable prices, a strong job market, and a financial system they can depend on. Every decision we make, whether about interest rates or regulatory and supervisory matters or other issues, is made in service of that purpose. Our decisions reflect the collective judgment of the Board of Governors and the Federal Open Market Committee, colleagues who demonstrate analytical rigor, principled judgment, and a genuine commitment to the public interest. Our collaborative and deliberative process has long reflected a shared commitment to finding common ground in service to our mission.
Remember, I'm not going too crazy. It's FOMC, light size, trimming, taking profit very quickly. Right? Remember what I said. We're bullish. We can reclaim going over this 5-day.
So many great public servants at the Board of Governors and around the Federal Reserve System. The Fed's work is only as effective as the public's understanding of it, and you, the press, are essential to keeping the public informed about what we do and why. The people we serve benefit from your careful reporting.
Waiting for this breakout, and then I'll attempt ones, right? I use my 0DTs as a cushion.
The announcement last Friday by the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia that she had closed the criminal investigation. She also noted, however, that she would not hesitate to restart the investigation. Over the weekend, the Department of Justice provided assurances that they will not reopen the investigation unless there's a criminal referral from the Fed's Inspector General. And, absent such a referral, if they do appeal the recent court decision, they would not seek, as part of that appeal, to restart the investigation or send new subpoenas. I've said that I will not leave the board until this investigation is well and truly over, with transparency and finality, and I stand by that. I'm encouraged by recent developments, and I'm watching the remaining steps in this process carefully. My decisions on these matters will continue to be guided entirely by what I believe is in the best interest of the institution and the people we serve. After my term as chair ends on May 15, I will continue to serve as a governor for a period of time to be determined. I plan to keep a low profile as a governor. There's only ever one chair of the Federal Reserve Board. When Kevin Warsh is confirmed and sworn in, he will be that chair. Once sworn in as board chair, his new colleagues will elect him to chair the FOMC as well. As I regularly point out from this podium, our success in delivering our goals matters for all Americans. I'm confident that the Fed will continue to do its work with objectivity, integrity, and a deep commitment to serve the American people. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate the comments.
He
about
basically
the
said a
press
whole
officers
bunch of
come from the
nothing
podium in
yet
different
again.
places, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, what I said.
Can
This
you
range
talk about what
don't
is
even bother.
gone into
Obviously,
your
like I said,
decision
we
to
talk
remain
about
on the board?
pop
What
off
kind
the,
of criteria are you
zeros,
weighing, and
snack,
how
little
long
dirty,
would you stay? Thank you.
chilling. So now, what we want to watch for,
you know, my
any kind of thing he
concern
says, whatever,
is really
break
about
out,
the series
test,
of
remember,
legal
charge
attacks
is
on
gonna
the
be
Fed,
If we do
which
not,
threaten our
right,
ability to
fail
conduct
from
monetary
here,
policy
or if we
without
get back over
considering
here,
political
fail,
factors.
Right, we're going to be looking for
And
Lloyd
I
Day,
want to
gap
note
close,
here,
708,
this has
maybe below
nothing
that,
whatever to do
705.
with verbal criticism by elected officials. I've never suggested that such verbal criticism is a problem, and neither has anyone else here. But these legal
And by
actions by the
time,
administration
if you're new
are
to this,
unprecedented in
by
our
time, don't
113-year
go
history.
heavy. You don't
and
got
there
it
are
right just in case it's a
ongoing
nothing
threats
burger, just in case
of additional
nothing
such
happens,
actions.
right? 'Cause
I
remember,
worry that
you
these
might get the
attacks
reaction
are
tomorrow,
battering
right?
the
It might not be
institution
today.
and
It might
putting at
just
risk the thing that
flop,
really
be
matters
flat.
to the public,
Everybody's,
which
you
is the
know,
ability to
heavy
conduct
in some
monetary
position on either
policy
side.
without taking
Everyone
into
wants to use
consideration
them. Everybody,
political
you know, wants to
factors.
use Trump. So
It is so
could just be
important
nothing,
for
right?
our
Remember,
economy,
scout,
for the people that
take
we
your profit
serve,
quickly,
that they can
buy time
depend
if
over
you're new to
time on a
this, right?
central
If you're
bank
pro,
that
you can
operates
trade
that
in
way,
FOMCs, you know how to
free of political influence. It's part of the absolute
we already got a dub under our
foundation
belt,
of this
so I'm not
amazing
anxious
economy
to
that
get
we
into
have.
the
It's
trade
just
yet.
one of the many reasons why the U.S. economy is the envy of the world. That piece of an institutional architecture separates successful countries from unsuccessful countries. It is extremely important, not for the people who work at the Fed at any given time, but for the people that we serve, that the Fed remain able to conduct monetary policy in a way that doesn't get pulled into politics, trying to help or hurt any particular politician or political party. It's critical for the people that we serve. In terms of when I would leave, I will leave when I think it's appropriate to do so. Was that all your questions, or was
Well, I
there?
just have a follow-up, which is, what would you say to the criticism that by remaining on the board, you're actually taking a political act in denying President Trump the majority of the board, which as president he would have if you left?
I don't see that at all. And as I mentioned, I'm literally staying because of the actions that have been taken. I had long planned to be retiring, and the things that have happened really in the last 3 months have I think, left me no choice but to stay until I see them through at least that long. In addition, I don't see how this will interfere. My intention is not to interfere. I was a governor for almost 6 years, and the tradition is at the Fed that governors who understand how difficult the role of chair is, and as a soon-to-be former chair, I do understand how hard it is to get consensus with 19 strong-minded people. You work with the chair. You try to be heard, but also collaborate with the chair and try to support the chair when you can. When you can't, you can't. And I think that's the attitude that people generally take, and that's the attitude that I'll take.
Chair Powell, if I could ask about the inflation outlook. In March, you described the standard practice of looking through energy shocks as conditional on inflation expectations staying anchored. Since that meeting, there has been very little progress reopening key energy trade corridors. Can you help us understand how the inflation outlook has changed in the intervening period, beginning with the prospects for tariff pass-through resolving on the timeline that you had outlined in March, before getting to the energy shock that is now on top?
So, I would look at it this way. For a long time, we've been working on the hypothesis, really, that tariffs would lead to a one-time price increase, and that
we're
would
still
go
not
away
getting-
over time. In other words, that there would be no further change, so measured inflation would reflect that higher level going up more and more.
FOMO,
And it's time for that to happen. We really do expect that to be happening in the next 2 quarters. So we'll be watching very carefully to see that what we thought all along would happen. That's the kind of critical part of the forecast. We need to really see that. With energy, it's so hard to say. I mentioned, in sort of the textbook, you would look through an oil shock because they tend to be short-lived and they tend to revert. And monetary policy works with long and variable lags, so you wouldn't necessarily react right away. I think that is all the more true given that we're several years above 2% inflation, and that we're already looking through the tariff shock. So I think we're going to be very cautious about that. But the question about looking through energy really is not in front of us right now. It hasn't even peaked yet, and I think we'd want to see the backside of that and progress on tariffs before we even thought about reducing rates.
So if I could follow up, the statement today preserves language that has taken on some meaning as it was socialized when the committee was actively lowering rates. Why is that easing bias still ripe, given how different the inflation outlook is now versus a meeting or two ago? And what more would have to happen for it to get evicted?
So that was, as you will recall, we had a discussion about that at the last meeting. We talked about it in the press conference after the March meeting. We had the same today. We had quite a vigorous discussion about that very issue and the guidance, and it's still appropriate and that kind of thing. And I would say that the number of people on the committee who either could support that language change, changing to a more neutral stance so that a hike is as likely as a cut, that number has increased over the intermediate period. And it's easy to see why. I mean, it's a good question, right? You see inflation has moved up over the interim a bit. Core inflation is 3.2 now, moving, albeit just a little bit, in the wrong direction. And we know that there will be, that there's headline inflation coming out of the Gulf, and we don't know how much that will be. We're going to need to see. So it makes all the sense in the world that people would look at that and we'd have a vigorous discussion about that. You saw the 3 people dissented over the language. I think all of those people agreed with the rate decision. So the majority of the committee did not want to do that, and I didn't think we needed to do it at this meeting. It really was just a question of why do we need to do that now? We have so much to learn. There's so much uncertainty about the path ahead. There doesn't need to be any rush to make that decision now, because what happens in the next 30, 60 days, even by the next meeting, could really change the picture around that language. So, it's a much closer thing on the committee than it was in March, and that makes all the sense in the world, it seems to me.
Claire Jones, Financial Times.
Remember what I said? Inside of here, you don't want to chase whatever moves happen, right? Like, caught the calls, I'm not chasing here, I sold here. Caught the shorts, right? My profit, low day, I'm not tripping, right? Because remember, we're still inside this, we're still inside of this.
If it stays around those levels 6 weeks from now,
so
what would be your best guess as to whether the easing bias will still be in the statement? Thank you.
Scalping, right?
I wouldn't want to guess. Well, first of all, we're going to have new leadership in all likelihood by then, and new leadership is going to have a very important role to play in that. So I won't be standing here at this podium to answer your question. So I don't know. As I mentioned, that's all I can really say is that we had a great discussion about that today. It's got to be a better question in the interim period. We had the discussion. The majority are still on the page of not feeling the need to move to that level. That's where I am.
Really big volatility.
I get it, though. At a certain point, you would move, and that conceivably could come as soon as
save your buying power. Like I said in the video, I will be going live on the last day of the month, probably the last hour or two, so that way, really probably the last
press
2-3 hours, so we can catch
and on the
something,
dot plots.
Crazy.
What would your
Usually
advice to him
huge
be on
reversals,
these communication
huge pumps,
tools?
huge dumps,
So I'm not going to give him any advice through you today here, but
nothing happens today.
I think communications generally is. I think every incoming chair takes a look at communications, and it's a very healthy thing.
Right? Come up here, take out the highs,
Communications, it's very complex, and you can always be looking at new things. And if that happens, it feels like it's going to happen, that's a completely appropriate thing.
Hi, Chair Powell, Axios. Can you tell us if you've been in touch with incoming Chairman Warsh? To what extent is this a normal transition process versus all the things swirling around, something unusual, and what can we expect when he takes that podium in a few weeks?
I haven't seen him since seeing him at a dinner in January where I congratulated him and had a nice chat with him. Haven't seen him. I don't know what a normal process is. The last process was with Janet Yellen, with whom I had worked for 6 years, and so it was, we were sitting down off each other, so it was a very different thing. I think this is and will be a very normal, standard kind of a transition process. So that's what I expect. I have every reason to think it will be.
Quick call, is the Supreme Court ruling on Governor Cook a factor in when you may leave as a governor?
I wasn't thinking of it as such, but no, not really. I mean, I'm thinking more of the other things I mentioned.
Hi, thanks for taking our question. I wanted to ask a question about your tenure, and Chris Rugaber at Associated Press. During your tenure as chair, you often spoke about how disadvantaged Americans benefited from extended periods of low unemployment. In the new framework the Fed adopted in 2020, some economists say elevated the Fed's employment mandate. Are you worried that the pandemic inflation spike that followed will make future Fed chairs more reluctant to pursue a hot jobs market?
That's you.
And should they be?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, what we experienced.
I remember, like I said, if you're new to this, you're still learning, right? You always want to buy time, just in case, right? Like I said, I've been doing this a while, so scalping,
for a long period of time, but no reaction from inflation. And we all very much took notice of that. We also noticed that the biggest wage gains were going to people at the bottom end of the income spectrum.
So you
And we
don't
had
want
many
to
reports of,
into the trap.
I mean, it felt like a fairly stable equilibrium, and a lot of benefits were flowing to people at the bottom end of the income spectrum, including companies were, setting up in,
you can, I'm not saying you can't.
People who were confined and like training them before they got out, and it was a very healthy sort of set of societal dynamics. So of course, I think anybody would love to get back to that.
When it's coming down, and then when it's going up,
I don't think
resistance, right? Confirmed resistance.
Anything that happened to create the global pandemic inflation
every time you get in a trade, it's just going the wrong way because
overweighting
you got to rewire your brain.
I mean, it was a global shock that happened essentially very similarly all over the world. It had to do with closing, reopening, stimulus, and all that. And you could look at a graph of 10 big economies on the page and not know which was the U.S. and which was Germany, France, and things like that. So I don't think that insight was in any way responsible for the high inflation that we experienced. So, I mean, I think it's always been a balance. You've got to be strong on both of our dual mandates, and we for example, now we don't feel that the labor market is at all a source of inflation, so we don't need to be worrying about that. It's been a long time since we have had to worry about that. Well, actually, during the pandemic recovery, the labor market was super overheated and tight, and that's when we had to worry about it, but not now.
Just on the other issue, do you need more assurance from the Justice Department before stepping down? Is that what you're waiting for, or what else?
I'm waiting, for the investigation to be well and truly over with finality and transparency, and I'm waiting for that, and I will leave when I think it's appropriate to do so.
Michael McKee from Bloomberg Television and Radio. I'd like to ask you if you could explain a little more or characterize a little more the discussion about the two-sided view and interest rates, because there were some members of the Open Market Committee who've been suggesting that we may need to raise interest rates.
Remember, this holds on this higher time frame,
because inflation was not coming down fast enough.
In the next 8 minutes,
is there
if
any
this does
sense
hold,
that
right, and in the next
interest rates might have to go up, or was this just a setup to sort of warn people that you're worried about the war impact?
Higher close, higher floor, right? We got a low, and then, like I said, we have 8 minutes.
And others who could have supported that, and others who were voters and non-voters who preferred it,
if we can reclaim
they all supported the rate decision, right? So people are not saying we need to hike now. It's more a question of, don't we kind of feel that we should be neutral, and markets, what are markets doing? People argue that this is consistent with what markets are doing. And
watch the
again,
price action. We'll watch
it's a
the
very
candle
fair
close.
question, but these changes, there is, it's a form of forward guidance, and you don't want to make them in a way that will be sustained and continue to make sense, and not something you need to take back, fairly quickly. So I think we just, a group of us, including me, didn't feel like we needed to be in a hurry on that markets are not confused about our reaction function. We don't have a problem to solve on that. But the other side of the argument is a good argument, too. As I mentioned, it's perfectly
you need
good argument to
confirmation.
be
So if
having,
you're gonna
good
go
discussion to be having. So,
remember,
and
you
it came
buy
out the way it
time
came.
or
Well, you've
quickly
got
take your profit, right?
3
Back at the
dissents
top of the zone,
in
right?
favor
Zoom
of
out,
two-sided
rejected,
warning.
rejected.
You've got yourself
Break
staying
out,
on
retest,
the board.
held, right?
You've got
Retest, held.
criticism
But
that
we
does
still need
come
to
from
clear the
elected
high. So if this
officials.
does not happen, then
And
that
you've
means
got
we'll
a
still
lot
be
of
making a high,
critics who
a lower
have
high,
faulted the Fed
and then if we make another
for
lower
being
high,
too
then
slow
what
in
does that lead to?
2021
A
with
downtrend,
inflation.
right? So
Are
be
you worried
careful
about
if we do
Fed
not
credibility
replay.
under all of this? Is that one reason that you want to stay on?
Not driving my thinking now. I mean, monetary policy is going to get made by, 19 people. There's a lot of stability there. I mean, if you think about it, every new Fed chair has the same situation, which is you've got 18 colleagues on the FOMC, 11 of them vote during any year, and your job is to create consensus, is to talk to them, understand them, be inside their thinking, and be able to pull them together and get consensus and move. And that's what every Fed chair has to do. And I think Kevin Warsh is actually quite well. He has the capabilities, skills to be very good at that.
I did add in on those Amazons.
So I think I'm not so worried about that
So
process.
I might, before earnings,
I think
before candle
that'll
close,
work itself
before
out.
the daily close on Amazon, I might take some of that off, just
Thank you, Chair Powell.
just because
Howard
it's
Schneider with
earnings,
Reuters.
man. And it's like
You
when you
mentioned
see
that
gains
staying on
before
as a
earnings,
governor, you intend to keep a low profile. I'm
right?
just
So
wondering if you
my
could
goal
give us a
is
little
to
more
take
detail
whatever I
on
make
what that
on the,
looks like and
on
how
Amazon,
you get.
like by the end of the day, trim that,
Touche.
and then just hopefully use
What that,
profit.
walk
So
down
that
the
way those
steps.
contracts that I do
What that
swing
looks like,
free
and
trade,
particularly around
right?
the
So I
policy
already
discussion,
made
how
more
you're
than
able
what
to
contracts cost, so I can
have
trim,
your
like, okay,
intervention and
how much
not
have I made? I made
be
enough for
a
2
shadow
contracts.
chair and not
I made
have
enough
kind of an
3, made enough
outsized
4,
influence
right? Like I
over the
said, only
process.
$100 a pop,
Yeah,
so
that's just
you
something
take
I would
them
never
and then
do,
you just wash them
the shadow
right?
chair
So
thing.
remember, you can always
It's,
get
it's,
back
I
in.
don't
You can
know
always
what
get
the
back in.
exact
Even if it's not
specifics
same
of
day,
it will
you can get
be,
back in tomorrow,
but
so
I'm going
don't
back
rush
to
it,
being a
don't chase
governor.
it, but
I respect the
remember
role
to
of
take your
chair.
profit.
I
And
was
there's
the
always
chair.
gonna be
I was
tomorrow,
a
right? So
governor
you
for
always
6
gotta
years, and I know
gains
what that's
max
like. I
every
know
day.
it, and I had a pretty front row seat particularly with Chair Yellen, to whom I was
Am I
close when
getting
I was working with Chair
calls on
Bernanke for
Amazon
2 years, but
No. Like I said, it's
I
lottery.
was
It's lottery
at that time,
plays,
so
man.
I got
It's not-
a sense of what
I'm
it was,
not,
and I
you
had
know,
real
I'm not-
sympathy
I'm
for
not a
how hard
huge
it is
investor into
to
Amazon, where I
get
go
that
all
group to
the time. I'm just looking at
consensus.
the-
And I
looking at
always
the
felt
charts,
like
I'm like, okay, we got another
I don't want
thumbs
to add
up,
to that
so
unnecessarily, and that means
I'm gonna take
try to
calls,
support the
you know, so
chairs
if I'm wrong, I'm
where
wrong,
the
it
chair,
is what it
the
is,
direction the
but,
chair wants to go in. If you can,
yeah,
you
I'm actually
can.
gonna do spy calls.
And I think that's the way it's always worked there, because the chair only has one
it's just so
vote,
hard
plus the
not
ability
getting
to
a
develop
confirmed
consensus.
high-
And
high,
if people
right?
won't be,
Like I said, we got this
you know,
high.
they won't, if they're not
Yesterday's
flexible
high,
at all,
we
then
got
how
high
do you
today.
ever do
So
that?
if we can
And
come
so
take
that's
it out,
why the
that's why I
chair
said
has, the
5
authority the
days
chair
is our
has
target
really
for the upside.
is to
Let's see how we
develop
do so far.
relationships with people and work with them and then put something forward that has consensus.
You got some
And
sort of
I propose to be a very constructive
Continuation.
participant in that process.
5 is right here. Remember,
really out of
That's-
respect
that's
for
what I
the
want.
office of the chair.
Tell me, hey,
And
we still
in
bullish. We
your
got
your
everything
view
done.
as
By the day.
a soon-to-be governor,
Or else I'm
how
just
do you
not gonna
see the
spend.
risks of oil prices bleeding into core inflation in coming weeks? Because that was, it seems like the commentary that was coming from particularly some of the Reserve Bank presidents, they were elevated concerns about the bleed into core. And, you know, here we are with 3% now. What do you see as the prospect of a core inflation?
You know,
But
those
make sure y'all
prospects
doing,
are
you
real.
know, on
Remember, though,
quick volatile days, make sure you're doing some
and
some
the
market
real
work,
and
right?
the real thing is
Sometimes
we're
we
going to
try
have to wait and
limit
see.
order,
We're
say
going to need
right
to
now,
see. And the
contract.
good news is we
I'm
think
in
our
a few more
policy
runners,
stance
right?
is just
Trim,
is in a very
let's do
good place for us to
25%,
wait
have
and
runners.
see.
That way if they
We,
go,
you know, we're right kind
break
of at
even,
the
who
high
lost
end
that
of
value,
neutral or
okay.
perhaps
But,
mildly
I'm doing the market
restrictive.
order. So for me,
The labor
when I
market
see a
shows
position that I wanna get in,
more and more
I'll
signs
wait
of
for it,
stability,
take out my entry,
whereas
I'll market
inflation
order it.
is kind of
And then,
misbehaving. And
when
so
I'm getting
maybe a
ready to
little
sell,
bit
I'll get market orders held.
of restriction or the
You know,
high
you
end of
try to
neutral
do
is
limit
just the
order,
right
right?
place
Let's
to
say try
be.
to do
So
limit order
we
at-
can wait here and
Contract said
see
$60. So try to do
and see how
limit at
things work
60,
out before we
limit at
act.
50 now.
And we'll see how much that, how much does come through into core. You see
Market
it
will just
already
sell
in
it at whatever,
airfares, of
when you
course,
see it
but
right there,
you may see it in
said
many other
66,
places.
25% selling, right? So
we just don't know yet, and it's so
no,
unknown, because how long will the strait be closed? You can develop any number of scenarios that you want, but we really won't know till we know. So fortunately, we're in a good place to wait and let things develop.
All right, so good so far. Like I said, I'm still trimming, taking that 20%.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. You started holding post-meeting press conferences for every meeting as opposed to the ones with just with SEPs. Can you talk about why you see that as a net positive?
So we always said, when we were doing quarterly press conferences, we always said we can move at any meeting, but we only ever moved at the quarterly SEP meetings where we had the press conference. So if you think about it, during the pandemic, we were moving like a lot at every meeting and sometimes between meetings, and doing that without a press conference, I think, would have been quite challenging. It's become the industry norm.
Yeah, this is good.
It's the standard.
Like I said,
I don't know whether that has to remain that way. I don't know. I mean, it's just something people have become used to, and I do think it's quite helpful
top of the range.
to,
yes, sir, there we go.
I try to deliver a message on behalf of the committee
rather
than 18 other people going out and delivering their message. And it's going to be all over the place, because we do, thankfully, have widely disparate views.
Okay, thanks. The other thing I wanted to ask about was the communications review from last year. Could you describe the debate last year, what changes were considered, what you wanted, and what prevented action, any action on those changes?
So I'm not going to go into the real small specifics, but what we found very quickly was that making changes, making really large changes, for example, to the dot plot or the SEP, it didn't happen. We couldn't come up with anything that had really broad support on the committee, and so we just moved on. We didn't really do as much on that as we might have. And I was never the world's biggest fan of the dot plot, but you can't do something with nothing.
There we go.
We've looked at a bunch of things, and it's something, like I said, I think every new chair is going to look at our suite of communications and think about what would be changes. We are the only major central bank that doesn't publish a forecast. And that's because we have a 19-person committee, and you try to do that at the board. That's hard. At the committee, that's hard. It's hard if you do it at the staff. So it works. I think our communications are fine, but looking at doing it in a different, better way is the most natural thing in the world.
Thank you. Colby Smith, The New York Times. If I could follow up on Mike's question about hikes, are we right to assume that the hawkish outcome for the Fed is still one in which the committee just extends the pause in rate cuts? And to what extent is there a growing sense within the committee that monetary policy really isn't just restrictive at all right now? The economy is holding up relatively well despite this major energy shock. The unemployment rate has ticked lower. Inflation was moving sideways even before the war and is now moving higher. So where is the committee at on that debate?
We got the first move. Right, so downside,
we think our policy rate is in a good place. If we need to hike, we will certainly signal that, and we will certainly do it. And if we need to cut, then if it's appropriate to cut, then we'll signal the opposite. I think because we feel like we're in a good place to move in either direction. Nobody's calling for a hike right now, so it really is going to depend on how things evolve, and that's really where it is. As I mentioned, much closer question this cycle on changing the guidance, but ultimately we didn't.
And as it relates to the war, at what point do you think the risk to growth will be larger than the risk to inflation as this conflict drags on?
You just have to find that out empirically. Given our the fact that we're a big exporter of energy, and that our economy is far less
all right, 40% on these last
oil
runners for
intensive than it was during the 70s.
Like I said, trim,
you know, the effects on the United States are really substantially less than those of Western Europe or Asia, who are feeling much greater effects from these things. Our effects we're feeling in the current situation currently, and in sort of what's priced in, which is a relatively quick outcome. If this goes on for much longer and prices go much higher, then we'll feel that much more. And of course, I'm talking about aggregate inflation numbers. We know, we're very well aware that people are experiencing higher gas prices all over the country now. And that hurts. Those hikes may continue to happen. And other things are going to start to reflect airline fares I've mentioned, and other products and services that are dependent upon petroleum and derivatives of petroleum. People are going to start to feel that.
Right, back to the downside, catch all the late slipping. So remember, confirmation, we already got the breakout, we already hit our first target.
Fox Business.
So what are we looking for now?
I guess I'll just ask you directly on this. The markets don't see a rate cut at all this year, is what they're predicting.
Failure right
Do
back
you think that
through,
we are at the neutral rate?
Failure
Why
right
or
back
why
through.
not?
Any failure right back through?
You know, the neutral rate is we cannot know it with certainty.
Or if you're already
I
in your
think
runners, right? Make sure you
pretty close to the neutral rate. Yeah, I always had it, between 3 and 4%. We're a little north of 3.5.
You don't want your
so that's well in the range of what
I mean,
I would consider reasonable.
unless you're already, let's
at
say
the
you
higher
bought
end of the
25
range of
contracts,
what I would consider reasonable
you can let
neutral
it,
rate.
I think
the labor market is still probably cooling off just a little bit.
So you can set a trailing stop loss on
I don't think there's much of a case for any case really for policy looking meaningfully restrictive, maybe mildly restrictive or neutral, I would say.
Because you can fluctuate.
Follow up on some of the other questions about your future a little bit. The first time we've seen 4 descents now since October of 1992.
We got step one,
Are you handing off a divided Fed?
We need confirmation, close over.
The thing to remember is
retest, continuation.
We have always had vigorous debates, and they're excellent debates. I have to say they've been really good.
Breakout, retest,
and we're in an unusually difficult situation. So we've really had
That's it.
4 supply shocks.
And then at that point, I'll
you can
probably
say
get
more
rid
than
of
4, but at a minimum, we've
I'm
had
holding these
the
runners, but
pandemic,
I do want to see
we
it.
had the
like I said,
invasion
take it level
of Ukraine,
level
we had tariffs,
level
and now we
level,
have
right? I'm not going to buy
Iran
calls
and
here
oil.
and be like, oh, have to go here.
The
No,
oil
I'm
spike.
trimming, right? Remember, we trimmed on the first break.
Every
we trimmed when it broke out.
supply shock has the capability of driving inflation up and unemployment up. And what do? The central bank has a really hard time knowing what to do. So the right thing to do is to try to balance the achievement of those 2 goals, and that's what our framework calls for us to do. But these are really tough, difficult judgments. You've got to have a forecast for each variable. You've got to think how long it's going to take to get back to target.
I'm going to take some of the Amazon out.
How restrictive or not is policy. So it's only natural that you have a range of views on the committee.
All right, now my runner got stopped out.
Risk tolerances
my
and that kind of thing.
So
I mean,
all out of zeros, right? If I do get back in, we'll wait.
That would be surprising.
We'll wait, make sure it's confirmed.
I
Think
think
it's close over, right?
It's partly a function of
no
the
close,
extraordinarily
no
challenging
no confirmation.
set of supply
So what's our
shocks
next
that we've
level
been dealing
support?
with now
This
for
don't
5-6 years.
And you got to pray this hold, right? So you got 2 levels in between here and here. If neither one of these hold, it bitches.
Thank you so much, Chair Powell. Selena Wayne
More
with
downside,
ABC News. Are you confident that
First
Kevin
move
Warsh will
is
stand up
always
to
the real
political
one.
pressure
Gotta
from
make sure you
President
stay on
Trump?
your toe. Took profit,
So he
caught 35%.
testified very strongly to that effect in
Not
his
trying to
hearing,
give more
and
money
I'll take him at his word.
It holds.
And when it comes to gas, right now it's over $4 a gallon. Inflation just hit a 2-year high. Should Americans expect to be paying higher gas prices for the rest of this year? And in your view, does that take a rate cut off of the table? And secondly, by staying on as Fed governor, what message do you think you're sending to the president?
I don't know what gas prices are going to do for the rest of the year. And it will depend on how long the strait remains closed and how quickly it can be reopened and that kind of thing.
Retest lines up with our 7
when gas prices go up,
25-ish level, right? Lines up with the bottom
that's
of this.
disposable income coming out of people's pockets, so they're going to spend less on other things. So there will be a hit to GDP. So it's a it's a question whether spending goes down
I'm not saying,
to offset the inflationary effects. So it's not the answer isn't obvious
I'm not saying go
ex ante whether you should move your rate
do not go long
over because of that.
Right.
We'll have to see how it evolves. I'll stand on what I said earlier.
He said he's standing on business.
Hi, Victoria Guida with Politico. During your tenure, Fed independence has come under pressure in a lot of different ways. And I was just wondering, practically speaking, where do you see Fed independence as coming from? Is it the law? Is it political support from Congress? Is it the actions of the Fed? What sustains Fed independence?
Well, it's to a significant extent, it is the law. And, we've had to go to court to successfully so far to defend it. But the law does create a setting in which the Fed can and is directed to make monetary policy without consideration of political factors. And so part of it is the law. But it goes beyond that, though. There's a set of customs. There's a boundary line between the Fed and the administration, between the Fed and the Treasury Department. And we need to respect those, continue to respect those boundaries about what the Fed is responsible for and what the Treasury is responsible for and what the rest of the administration is responsible for. So some of it is legal. In fact, it's all legal at the end of the day, but it's more than just monetary policy. We don't want to use our tools to achieve goals that are really clearly outside our mandate. Every administration looks at our tools and thinks, it would be good to repurpose those to serve other purposes, but that's dragging us into politics and into fiscal policy, so we've resisted that.
Well, and maybe another way of asking it too is, do you think that Fed independence is as strong now as when you became chair, and if so, why?
Data drop.
Look, I think it's at risk. I mean, I think these
absolutely nothing is happening. So all this is a long
these legal assaults, if you will.
I'm actually
as I mentioned, the institution is being battered over these things. We're having to resort to, the courts to enforce our legal. It's not so much independence. It's really the ability to do to make monetary policy without political considerations. That's what we're talking about, and. We've had to do that, and we've been successful so far, but that's not over. None of that is concluded yet, and it's really important. It's not about people who work at the Fed or the institutions. It's about the benefits of a central bank that makes decisions based on analysis and our best thinking. Rather than trying to help or hurt politicians. There's a bright line between central banks who do one and do the other, and successful countries have uniformly, successful advanced economy countries have a really strong set of protections around their central bank just for that reason. So that's what it's all about. I think I am confident, as I said in my remarks, that the Fed will continue to make its decision based on analysis, rigorous analysis, and not on political considerations. But we've had to fight for it, and I'd like to think that I'd like to think we can get out of that era and go back to respecting what the law says and what custom has been, which is to let the Fed do our thing. It's an institution full of human beings who work super hard to get things right for the benefit of the public. We're all human. Don't expect perfection, but do expect us to make decisions without political considerations and the very best analysis we can bring.
Right. So by time, right? By 1, 2, there's no rush. Remember, there's no rush to get
Katarina Sarai with Bloomberg News.
Not gonna happen.
How would you characterize what you heard from your colleagues on your decision to stay? Do you have their support? And then have you heard concern from your colleagues about continued legal attacks from the executive branch? Is this something that others have talked to you about?
So I think that I don't want to report on what my colleagues think they can speak for themselves, but there are widespread concerns that these things may continue. That's all I'll say, and and that would be a problem. And so.
And then I just also wanted to ask about Governor Waller's speech on the reserve banks. Do you have any thoughts on centralizing some of those functions in the way you described? And then are you concerned that something like that could potentially be a slippery slope to consolidate reserve bank functions even more in such a way where the central bank ultimately loses some of that important regional information?
So we try to be good stewards of the public's money, and efficient, and Chris in particular, Chris Waller, is particularly passionate about that. Of course, so are the reserves, so are the presidents, and, you know, it's a question of how do you accomplish it. We of course, and Chris said this in his speech, we want 12 strong,
remember, we're
independent central
into
banks with their own staffs and their own monetary policy views and all that.
Your calls are
But,
printing, take profit,
you know, there are
right?
things
Look,
that are done in all
what do we
12,
call?
which could well
We
be
call,
done at
don't go
one
short
much more
here.
efficiently
It's
and
just
with
the
cost
bottom, right?
savings. And so
We're inside this
there's
channel,
a back
don't
and
go short
forth going
support.
on that,
The
but
long support.
everybody's on the same
Resistance, we got
page.
the puts,
The other thing he touched
long at
on
the
was
bottom, right? We got the breakout, retest,
the
breakout,
idea of
retest.
removing
What did I say?
reserve
We
bank
break out,
presidents from
retest,
office
level to
over
level to
different
level, right?
different views on
Trimming at
monetary
each level.
policy, and I
Boom,
would just agree with him so strongly
right? Boom, I took it to
that would be the
30%, right?
beginning of
Any
the
more,
end
like I said, you got runners, I got
of
stopped
the
out,
Fed's ability
right? I got stopped out.
to
Cool.
make
Once
monetary
I saw
policy
we got to
independently. If
retest,
every administration could come in
back
and do
right?
that,
Lighter size,
you're
bought
just not a
time. So
cabinet
that way,
agency
if
at that
I was
point.
wrong,
So that's
I'm
not
just giving money
something
back,
that I
right?
would
So
support.
got
Chris
back
said the
in,
same thing.
Smaller size, right? Just so you can still capitalize off it. We're now up 36%, right?
Thanks, Chair Powell. Christine Roman,
Smacking.
NBC News.
I want to ask about legacy. When the history books are written, how do you think your stewardship at the Fed will be remembered for the past 8 years?
You know, I'm going to just
Top of
say
this range,
that,
I'm fully out of
that's
zeros.
for,
I only
that's for
got
someone
maybe
else
like
to
10
say.
left,
I'll
but
give you a
still,
mulligan on that.
just some runners.
All right, I want to ask you about
misbehaving.
These runners are for the
inflation
screenshot.
then. You talked about those four
big shocks, supply shocks over the past 5 years, and inflation still misbehaving. What's your message to American families who feel like inflation has not been under control for them really since the COVID reopening?
You know, we're committed to bringing inflation back down to 2% and sustainably. That's our goal, and we'll stick at it until that happens. We keep getting, these events keep happening, which keep driving up costs, and, you know, the best thing we can do is to use our tools to guide inflation back down to 2%.
All right, my fault. I did just market sell
really
all
quickly
my calls.
Could be very costly in terms
I meant to trim
of job loss
but like I
and
said,
things
I
like
do
that.
have
But
1DT, so
we try to get
still gonna
there
catch that
over
profit.
time in
Or
a way that doesn't
2DT,
least damage possible. And, you know, our commitment to that is never ending and unshakable.
How would you describe the economy outside of the misbehaving inflation? I mean, it's still awfully resilient given all of the blows.
I don't know that you can be awfully resilient. So it's actually quite resilient, I would say, because it's a positive thing if I can have that amendment. Yeah, you know, growth is really solid across our economy. Some of that is that consumer spending is hanging in pretty well. The most recent data are good. And some of it is just the apparently insatiable demand for data centers all over the United States. So a lot of business investment going into building data centers. Every reason to think that continues. So you've got an economy
that's
that's
what I'm talking
growing
about. All right, trim,
at
take more
2% or
profit off.
better. PDFP, which
Even
is
the 2DTs
private
are
domestic
up
file
20%.
purchases,
Let's get it,
which is really a better signal of momentum in the economy. It's actually higher than that. So that's a positive thing. If you look at the unemployment rate, 4.3%. So that's a low rate. That's pretty close to
Jerome Powell.
mainstream estimates of the
Already
natural rate.
drew
We've been
it,
there for a
right?
long
I already
time.
told y'all what we looking
So
for.
it doesn't feel like a good labor market to some
Even if you didn't
who
catch the
don't
first
have jobs
move,
because quits are really low, hires
I
are
got stopped
really
out on that
low,
last one. Cool.
and there's
I saw it.
effectively
like I
no
said, I got
net
stopped,
job
trail stop, whatever.
creation.
Didn't break,
So
got
that's
back in.
that's
Got back in, consolidated
you know,
above.
in a
I'm
sense,
back
the
in.
labor market
Smack.
is in balance,
Smack.
but it's an
Now we're at the top of the
unusual
range.
and uncomfortable
Now I'm
kind of a
trimming,
balance
right? Now I'm
where
trimming,
people
but I do
who
wanna
don't
see
have jobs will have a hard time
Right,
breaking
but I
in
do,
unless
like I
somebody
said,
quits their
because we're
job.
going into the fives, I'm not loaning anymore.
So that's pretty good. You know, inflation is the thing we need to work on,
I'm trimming
and it's partly tariffs, which we think that inflation should subside over the course of this year because it's kind of a one-time increase. It shouldn't be repeated. And that should start happening pretty soon. The energy inflation that we're getting should go through fairly quickly. And we'll just have to see how that works out. In the meantime, you know, we think our policy stance is in a good place for us to hold and wait developments.
Jennifer. Thank you, Chair Powell. Jennifer Schonberger with Yahoo Finance. At the risk of beating the dead horse here, clearly 3 members objected to keeping that easing bias in the statement, and you said that the majority still didn't need to move to new language at this point. So does the majority of the committee still have a bias towards cuts at this point, or has the bias on the committee shifted away from cuts towards holding or hikes if that was needed?
So I think that, you know, the center is moving toward a more neutral place. and that's sort of what markets are saying too. I just think, there's a lot of signaling going on when you change guidance like that. And so we just, I guess a majority of us didn't feel like we needed to send a signal on that right now. But maybe it'll come to that. And the reason is because, we're kind of waiting to see what happens with events in the Middle East and what are the implications of those events for.
Yeah, you got those calls.
So
you got calls.
there was just there's a group who feels like we don't need to be in a hurry to do that. We get it.
I better be.
And
Look,
of
I better
course,
be
we
getting some
will
messages like
move to a hiking bias if we want to hike, and we'll move to a neutral bias before that. But there was a difference over whether to do it at this meeting, at a meeting at which all but one of us agreed that the rate decision was correct, which was not to move.
No, right?
And
unless you try to catch them up here,
ago that you believe Fed independence is at risk. Is it safe to say that you want to stay on as a governor to serve as a check and balance on that?
Right? Two people
I
can be
want
right
to stay
at the same
until
time.
I will stay
be
until
looking for long,
I feel it's appropriate for me to leave. And yes, that is really what is driving this. I'm not looking to be,
I'm not saying like you can't,
a high-profile dissident or
puts going
anything
into
like
this,
that. I'm more looking at
don't do that
the
shit.
other aspects of this and wanting to see that things have calmed down and we're returning to a traditional model of working with the people that you have and bringing them to consensus and respecting that consensus. That's what I'm hoping to see.
Matt Egan.
Thanks, Chair Powell. Matt Egan, CNN. You've made many tough decisions in your time at the Fed, and as your time as chair comes to a close, and you think about your tenure and perhaps your legacy, are there any decisions that stand out as ones that you're particularly proud of, and are there any that, with the benefit of hindsight, you would take a mulligan on?
Yeah, it's hard. I wouldn't want to single out individual things at this point. I'll just say, we all of us together have consistently tried to do what we think is best for the American people based on our tools and our objectives that Congress has given us. It's been very challenging because we've been in a situation of supply shocks really for 6 years. And that's just a very different situation than for a very long time. What the Fed and other central banks were doing all the time was demand management. And there was always the inflation mandate, but inflation was low for 25 years. So this is a very different world and a much more challenging one where you have to balance the two objectives. And by the way, central banks that have an inflation mandate have to do exactly the same thing because they're balancing economic activity. So that's been challenging, and we've tried to do our very best through these really challenging times, and I'm really proud of the work that I've done, that my colleagues and I have done during these years.
We got to reclaim previous days of close.
To follow up on some of the discussion around Fed independence, can you explain to the public
So
why
7-11,
this
70, and
notion of Fed
7-12,
independence, which might sound kind of wonky to some, is so critical? I mean, what are the consequences if either the Supreme Court rules against Lisa Cook or the Fed in the future decides to make decisions more around the political calendar instead of the economic data?
So every major advanced economy in the world has made the same decision the United States has made, and that is that they want to take the making of monetary policy, the setting of interest rates to support the economy to achieve maximum employment or price stability. They want to take that out of the direct control of elected politicians. And the reason is elected politicians are always running for election, and they'll always want low rates, and that will lead to inflation over time. So after literally centuries of experience with that, the whole world moved to the different model, and it's worked great. I mean, this is the era in which inflation was under control for 40 years. Then we had the pandemic inflation everywhere in the world, and now we have inflation that had gone pretty much all the way back to target, really close to all the way back to target. And now it's being buffeted by the energy shock, and the U.S. buffeted by the tariff shock as well. So, but what I would say to the general public is that's the backstory. Is that
and it's still working, right?
Don't think about an institution being independent. Think about it this way: that you want people to make monetary policy and set interest rates to benefit the
that's what I
general
said. All up in
public,
here, we got a bunch
and
of
to try
levels,
to achieve
right?
economic goals, which are maximum employment and price stability, and focus only on that, and ignore political considerations completely. Ignore them. This isn't bipartisan. This is nonpartisan. So we just work directly for the American people doing these things. We don't think, oh, I want to do this because the president says it's a good idea, or because there's an election coming up and I want to speed up or slow down the economy.
But I'm not swinging anything.
Think about that. If that's what we were doing, we'd have no credibility. Markets would lose faith in us and our ability to control inflation.
This is what I'm saying.
And having any respect would be gone. And let me say, whatever people say, the markets believe that we will produce 2% inflation. If you look at longer run expectations, markets believe that there's no sense in which our credibility in the markets has weakened. It's just not the case. It's people do get it, that this is a commitment and that we will achieve it, and it's priced in. If you disagree with that, then you can go ahead and bet against the markets, but the markets are pricing in
but it's like, when
credibility.
you're trying to get ins and outs, like I said, markets but I forget Weeble's weird, because like if I have 100 contracts, it'll say like,
thank you, Chair Powell. Richard Escobedo with CBS News.
So you're not
we talked a lot about gasoline prices and even you mentioned airline ticket prices, both of which are up dramatically because of the war in Iran. And so I wonder, are you seeing that weigh down consumer spending in other parts of the economy? And if so, how worried are you that that will be a drag on growth?
You don't see it in spending yet. You really don't. I mean, as one of your colleagues said, the economy has been resilient. It really has. Not just this time, but it's been remarkably resilient for some years now. The U.S. economy has just powered through shock after shock, and consumers are still spending, and that's what the banks will tell you, credit card companies will tell you, the retail sales numbers that we got most recently. People are still spending, and how long can that go on in a world where if gas prices were to go up a bunch more, that's taking otherwise spendable money out of people's pockets. But right now, we don't actually see much slowdown yet, certainly none from this. But you think logically you will, because people have a certain amount of money to spend. If they're spending 25% more on gas or something like that, then that's going to come out of other spending. But we don't see it yet.
One last thing. You mentioned those economies in Southeast Asia that are particularly dependent on petroleum. They make a lot of the stuff that American consumers buy. So was there any discussion today about whether or not those costs getting passed along to consumers is a real concern, and whether or not that might push up inflation?
So all of those things are in the models that we use to calculate inflation. So they're just parts. You can ask about anything like that, and they have a place. The staff has a place where they're looking at that and pricing in what will happen with higher prices and that kind of thing. So it's there. The effects are not that big yet. We're a huge economy. The import sector is only 10% of the economy, so we're not like a European country where 50% of the external of GDP is in the external sector. We're also, as I mentioned, we're an oil exporter, so we're not feeling the same kind of pain, and we're not likely to feel the same kind of pain that economies in Western Europe and certainly in Asia are feeling. Anyway, thank you very much, everyone. I won't see you next time.
All right. No more Powell. Now let's see if we can get some follow through. See if we can come testify, man. That's all I want. Just come testify. Testify. I'll be a happy camper. Turn these off. I gotta start paying for the premium, bro. I had the premium trading view, but then I saw online people were saying like, oh, they tried to say I was a professional trader and made me pay for the premium package. I'm like, whoa. Jumping the gun there. Yeah, we still got those ones we bought at the lows, so hopefully we can get this test, right? If not, they give it away. Who cares? It is what it is. Are we topping? Oh, okay, yeah. There we go. All right, perfect. So now, two things, right? You want to see this hold now, right? If it doesn't, this is just a sweep. You come back down, retest 710, right? Break below that, retest, can get lower, go below, right? We come down here and hold, boom, we break out, 5 days right here, right? That's ideally what we want to see for bulls. For bulls, you want to see the 5 reclaimed. For bears, you don't want to see it reclaimed. So whatever you are or whatever you're looking for, right? If you're looking for a short position, I'd probably say, either wait for a rejection up here or wait for it to actually reject down here. Don't just be going short in the middle of a range just because you see some red candles, right? Let it react to a level first, right? We're not really at a level just yet. So personally, like I said, I want to see it come to 712. I ain't gonna lie. Well, I just want to see the 5, bro. Is that too much to ask? Is that too much to ask just for a little 5-day tap? I'm about to as soon as this is done, I'm probably call it. Probably roll up some za. Get ready for the games. Get ready for my rock. Oh damn, I ain't even peep. Oh no, I'm wearing a Laker hat on stream. They finna get me for this. I'm a Rockets fan. Dang, I lived up there, so it don't count. This isn't a sign of affiliation, by the way. I'm not a fan of LA at all. Not when they playing my, my Rockets. Of course, Brian's a legend for sure, but nah. Any more data? I'm talking about pre-market low, so we can push again. Yeah, that's good. So one holds a pre-market low. Let's see how Amazon's doing. Amazon's still looking good. All right, I trimmed those Amazons just because I'm like, we went up 15%. So I'm like, all the contracts I bought, I'm like, I might as well just trim them just in case, just in case they try to get me. They try to get me. Our side looking good too. Oh, you smart on spot. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like, we just need to take out these highs, man. We need to take this out. Because if we can't, then it's just a lower low. And if it's a lower high set, then it's going to flush bad tomorrow. So if we do not get this close, I'm not swinging no longs, right? I'll take them. I'd rather miss out, right? I'd rather completely miss out. Yeah, see, that's where we are again, back up here. So if this doesn't break, in the next 30, and I hopefully it breaks just so we can test the 5, and then if we reject overnight or something, that'll be fine. But I really need to see this test this 5-day SMA. Anything below, yeah, that last few candles can just come all the way back down. You don't want to see that at all. Well, you do if you're a bear, obviously. You do if you're shorting. If you're shorting, this is your best bet. This is your best R&R. Yeah, actually, hold on. Ooh, hold on. See, so I'm not a bull or a bear. Obviously, I want the markets to go up because we love stonks, but ooh, look, hold on. If this don't hold, this looks like it might be a breakdown retest. That's why you gotta constantly be up on your game. See, look, in here we've got a huge bounce again, but then we had this super suspect ass candle up here, which kind of just looks like a breakdown retest. Actually, hold on, we might be able to catch some shorts off the end of the day. Hold on. Yeah, see, ooh, instant rejection. That's not good. Yeah, you don't want to see that. How much longer we got? 1:30. Why is everything so choppy, bro? Is it my system? Can't be the Mac. I'm like, bro, I just got this. Well, I didn't just get it, but yeah, they're gonna stop me out of my ones. No. What the hell? Hold on. All my shit is freezing. What the hell? Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. See, I said you do not chase into the 5. Do not chase into the 5. Damn, should we grab some FPX, please, real quick? Hold on. Let's look at the price of these. Price of the brick going up. Alright, so I got them loaded on both sides. Let's see what they're looking like. I'll either go 71.45 or I'll go 71.20. Let's see. Where's that 71.20 at? Ooh, 71.20 would come right back into the bottom of the, yeah. Why is my shit bugging? Yeah, see, you gotta be careful. Lower high. If this is a lower high being set, then we'll get another leg. Going down a little, that pin bar was fake, a low volume. Oh yeah. Be patient either way. Oh yeah. Smackaroons. Don't take much, man. Don't take much. Oh, 100% banger. Dump it. Oh yeah, had to market sell that bitch real quick. I don't know what this shit got going on. There we go. Yes, sir. What did these bitches go in the money? That'd be crazy. That'd be beautiful. All right, I have 4. I'm gonna take this one. All right, yeah, I'm taking this. Oh, fuck yeah. There we go, 118. Oh yeah, I'm selling into this wick. Selling to this pump. Selling to this, well, my fault, dump. Selling to this dump. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's fucking go. We are straight smacking this shit today, man. Oh my gosh. We got our pump into the 5. Hey, didn't work. Sold at the top. Got some puts. Smacked a little huncho. Yeah. Damn, I should have held them puts. That shit smacked too fast, man. I couldn't do it. I said, hell nah. That's perfect. That's good. Even if it goes back up, I'll feel better about getting out. But you got to, bro. See, look, you got to play level to level, man. You have to. Because if you don't, let's say like I'm still in push, right? Let's say I didn't sell. And I'm like, all right, well, let me get in. I mean, if it goes in my favor, obviously, of course, it's good. But you always got to have risk, right? People only think reward. They only, what's the reward? Reward, I could 10x. Reward, I could 100%. But what is your risk, right? You need to have risk established before you get in the trade. So we get down here. I'm like, damn, I gotta market sell. I gotta get out. So I did. I got out. And we're right back at the level where I just said, if we can't hold, we'll come right back here. Look what we did, right back here. But the thing is, we did get a higher, right? We did get a higher break. So if this does wick back and reclaim, we can go right back longs. Yeah, that was, yeah. Hold on, how long was it in that trade? Hold on. I bought the 7120s at 1531, sold at 1533. That's what they call me, the top sniper. Sniper, gang, Kodak. Yeah. I don't even care no more now. What are you getting into? 1 DTE? Nah, hell nah. I ain't swinging on SPX. Hell no. I swing spies. I ain't swinging on SPX. It's too much risk. Anything can happen overnight, especially nowadays. Hell no, I'm not gonna put $1,500 on the contract tomorrow. Trump be like, everything's okay, the market's fine, everything's good, everything's okay. We're gonna implement peace everywhere. Ooh, we at 720. I'd be sick. Nah, man, I play level to level. 0.95 to 0.36. Hold on, let's get a close up on this. 0.95s to 0.36. So I market bought, boom, bought for them bitches. Yes, real quick, right? Once we got 50%, I sold 3 instantly because we got that first wick, right? So I'm gonna obviously sell. I'm not gonna be like, well, let me see if I can get all of them 100%. No, if my runner goes 100%, my 100 went 100%, right? But it is what it is. You trim, bing, bing, bing. Yeah, that's just beautiful. What is that? 0.95 to 2.3. Let's ask. Oop. What the hell? Where's my fucking ChatGPT at? Can you tell me how you call out? My first time joining live. Oh, what's popping? What's popping? Yeah, so basically I just give the game plan, man. I draw it out for you. I tell you, hey, if this, we bought at this bottom, right? Wait for the breakout retest, wait for the breakout retest. So we got 2 breakout retest entries. This might be the 3rd, right? But again, remember, it's almost end of the day. We got 20 minutes left. Let me see something. I ain't bullshitting. All right. So if this is, yeah. If they still, remember, this could just be a breakout retest too. We still need to get back above right here. Or else we'll have something like a head and shoulders, right? So you don't want to, just because you see a pump, don't want to go too crazy. Let me see how much calls are right now. 712s are still a buck. God damn, they ain't even go down. What the fuck? What the hell is going on? All right, yeah, but I'll still probably buy 2 DTs. I'll probably buy May 1st contracts. Ooh, yeah, see? Holding the bottom of that range. If we can flip back up, it's literally right there. Off the breakout, too. Oh, my God. All right, yeah. I'm gonna try the 720s, 2 DTs again. Again, like I said, we just smacked on the SPX. We just smacked on SPY 4 times, no losses. So do not go heavy, right? You don't need to go, cool, we got 4 for 4. Let me get back in one more full size, and then that would lose your profit, right? So yeah, I'm gonna grab these, but I'm only going, like I said, small size. We got 20 minutes left in the day, just to see if they want to hold this and give us one last push. But like I said, small size, light size. I know where my stops are. We don't reclaim this, I'm gonna close them either way. So yeah, but it's looking good, man. It's looking good. It's looking real good because we see these same patterns, right, on smaller time frames. So we see these little double bottom sweeps, right? We see this. Like I said, the only thing that's still throwing me off is this bullshit right here. Like, high of this candle says 715.56, but I'm like, okay, can we trust that shit? Because if we can, like, if this is a true print, then we've already got a super scary long ahead of us, right? Because if this is a true print, right, you got some high, and then a low. That means that anywhere between here and here can be a full-blown rejection. So you got to be careful. Like I said, that's if this is a true wick. If this is a true wick. If it's not, then I'm still gonna be straight, right? If it's not a true wick, obviously, with the pre-market off, you don't see it, but it's still just one of those things. Because we've definitely had my boy E. He saw a gap fill candle print on Webull one day. But I couldn't see it anywhere, but he saw it on Webull. Like, it wasn't on Thinkorswim, wasn't on Webull, wasn't on anywhere, but it was on Robinhood. And the wick closed the gap. So it closed the gap, and the rest of the day we pumped. So in that case, it was a true candle. It just, we just couldn't see it. I don't know how that works, right? The SEC and all that stuff. I don't know how they regulate brokers being able to show overnight true. I don't know how that works. But if it's a true candle, we can trust it. If it's not, you can't trust it. It's kind of like a wick, right? Like the pre-market, sometimes you get those weird, right? Because we have one over here. Hold on. Let me see. We have the same one right over here. Turn this off. Right? We have one. So you got that weird wick. You got one right here, right? Same thing. Came down, tested that, and it's kind of like, is this real, right? Because I know they be having little quick glitches, but I'm saying, like, is it orders really fill there, or did they not, right? See, look, you turn off everything, where we at? We're just in range, sideways. You any calls, earnings calls. Yeah, I took Amazon. And I already took the profit on that, too. So the one that I'm swinging, the contracts that I'm swinging, that's free money. Yeah, that's free money, because they went already up to, like, 17%. So I'm like, well, shit, I added in, and now we're up 17. Let me just go ahead and take 3 of them off and just hold one, right? That way, you ain't really tripping too much. That way, if the contract, let's say Amazon just dumps, right? Because whether they beat earnings or not means nothing. They could beat and have bad guidance, we fall, right? Or they could not beat and have amazing guidance, AI partnership, you know what I'm saying, some bullshit, and that shit go crazy. So yeah, you got to size for zero when you're playing earnings. Yeah, man. So look, we ain't do shit, but with this candle pattern, if we gap up again and we get some sort of weird wick, this could be a bottoming candle, right? We can be a bottoming setup because look, you got boom resistance, right? In here, you get an attempt to go higher, right? You sweep that low, right? You break up, so you got a little bear trap. Boom, you go higher, and then now we kind of are like at this weird breakout level. So that's what I'm saying. Like if we can get back above that 5, it'll be a better. You know what I'm saying? But we're below it, so it's kind of iffy, right? The volume still ain't really there yet, but you know, you gotta be careful. You gotta be patient with these things. But oh yeah, wait, let's check SPX real quick. Y'all wanna do one more SPX? Y'all wanna do one more SPX? We caught a little huncho. We already caught a little hundo. Yeah, see, kind of like the same thing right here, right? You got the little trap set, breakout, and then if this candle closes like this, and we do get a push, then this is just a breakout retest of this candle. So as long as it doesn't clear this low, 710, and we can try to reclaim. Like I said, I still want the 5. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. Let's see how much SPX calls are real quick. Nothing crazy. Nothing too crazy. Nothing crazy, man. Nothing crazy. Relax. All right. SPX 7140s. Hold on. They're $60. They're literally $60. One SPX contract is $60. I like this risk to reward. 55 now. All right, so this is what I'll do, right? I'll grab a single contract. We don't need to go too crazy because at this point, we've already smacked 80%, 40%, 100%. Like, you ain't gotta go too crazy. Plus it's SPX, right? So if this goes, like they get some random push in the last 5-10 minutes, and this will probably go from $50 to a couple $100. And like I said, if it doesn't, it's $50. Nothing, right? No crazy size. You're not need to grab 100 contracts. You don't need to do that, right? You don't need to do that. If it goes, it goes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's fine, right? $50. But this is why whenever I do lives at the end of the day, I like to do, you know, SPX and stuff like that, because they're cheaper contracts. You feel me? It's super cheap. Plus, we know SPX gets expensive. So just the same way that those contracts went from $90 to $250 that fast, it can go from 50, one green candle, right? You're instantly up 50, 60%. SPX end of day. I don't touch SPX during beginning of the day, during lunchtime. I do not touch it, right? I've learned my lesson. I remember when I first found out about SPX. Yeah, man, it was actually during tariff time. It was during tariffs. So in my eyes, I'm like, okay, well, I mostly only trade SPY. So I'm like, I got this. This ain't nothing. Let me go ahead and lock it in. Boom, boom. I smacked the first few days. Like Trump says something, market just tariffs. Market's just the bed. End of day, contracts go from like $1 to like $10. I'm like, oh, 10x. We start going crazy. So then you start getting used to these huge gains from small contracts. And then I just got the big head, got too greedy, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go heavy. Bro, the day I went heavy is the day that Trump was like, no tariff or something, and we had that huge, like, that day was the day I learned, like, oh, like, you really cannot play with SPX. You cannot play with this shit, man. So from that day forward, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna leave this shit alone. So now I've learned my lesson, right? It's super volatile, especially if you're not watching it. Like, I thought I could just treat, because it's my first time playing it, I thought I could just treat it like SPY, like you buy contracts, ready, go chill. Nah, I didn't know. So that's why I said I only touch this shit when it's, end of day contracts under $100. Like even then, the contracts that I got in for the puts were $90. Bought at 90, sold at what was it, 250, 235, 240, something like that. So yeah, you don't need to be greedy. Let me see what that is. 95 to 240% increase. Hey, 153%. So that was 150% gain. You greeting? Am I greeting? You guys am I being greedy right now, Tim? You trying to check me out? Hell. Nah, not being greedy. Nah, hell no. Like I said, the contract's only $50. $50 is nothing, man. That's literally the price of a spot contract. But the upside potential is amazing. You lose $50, we've made very good money, right? So $50 isn't gonna matter. But $50 can also turn into an actual $100, right? A little 50 to a little. And shit, I don't know no jobs paying no $100 a minute. Shit, not like that. Let's check. Okay, so yeah, if this candle, remember, we need this candle to push above, come up here, take out the high. 5 still right there. We're still struggling below the 5, but like I said, remember, if we just close the cup, we're gonna need some sort of consolidation, whether it be a handle, however that looks. So if it's truly bullish, we'll still come back up. If it's not, like I said, if it's not. We come back down. We probably end the day under sub 7120, and that's why I said those are cool hedges too, because SPX is so cheap. Like you could buy a high day SPX and then a 7120 SPX for, let's say, $50 each. One of them gonna go, right? Unless they both don't, then you obviously you plan according to that too. A little $100 gone. But if you know what I'm saying, if they give us a end of day wick or something crazy, whatever side it goes, because if it goes down, 720, that shit's right there. That's easy, quick money. Well, like I said, if it goes 7140, again, easy money again. So, but you gotta have market orders set. Like you cannot play around with these type of contracts. If that shit goes real quick, you need to no cap. Like you need to take that profit. Because just as quick as the first wick that went to 100%, by the time my market sold, it was down to like 50. And then the last one obviously caught on crazy. But yeah, so be very careful with these SPXs. Actually, let me look at puts real quick. Remember, you gotta have a plan for both sides. Gotta know what you're looking for. I hurt my neck yesterday, man. SPX. Is it just me or is it not moving? Is it me or is it not moving? Oh, okay. I was finna say, hold on, because my trading view's not loading. Bro, am I tripping? There we go. I'm like, hold on, this shit not working, eh? All right. Hold on. Where's my shit? My shit slow as hell. Shit geeking. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, like I said, yeah. We just wait for that. SPS is like crack. I swear, bro. You be like, let me get a little SPX. You get addicted. You get that one hit. Oh my God. You make $1,000 in 2 minutes. You're like, yeah, that's a feeling you can't chase that though. Man. That shit will have you geeked. You'll be like, no, let me just get one more. I just want one more trade. Just one more SPX. Yeah, I can't wait to finish this. Go on a little walk. Downtown's looking beautiful today. It is pretty hot out there, so definitely hate when I have to trade live with the not maintenance, but all the stuff going on. But they be in there. I'm like, damn, I sound like I'm in Gotham City. What the hell going on? Yeah, see, still, it's getting a little scary. Look at that. Look at this. We went absolutely nowhere. Powell didn't do shit. Right? We just played normal price action. Powell didn't do shit. He didn't do nothing. Absolute. Look at this. 2, 1, 2, 3. 3 hours closing in the exact same spot. Yeah, you can't make that shit up. You can't make that shit up at all. Give us something, bro. Don't close like this. This is terrible. I gotta take a picture of this. Drop it in the chat. Yeah, drop that in the chat. You telling me all 3 candles didn't do shit? Oh shit! Hold on. If we catch those, hold on. How much time we got left? 10 minutes? Yeah, we're gonna do this. I seen SPX go from 0.5 to 27. That's what I'm saying, bro. If we can get a nice low, just one move. Hold on, let me see. Drop this in the chat. 9 minutes. This is where shit start getting fun. Alright. Alright, let's see. That's crazy, though. They're really not gonna give us the 5. We got close, but watch tomorrow. It'd probably be like a gap right here. Oh, we got the 350 candle. We got a little. Nothing. Just consolidating. Actually, like we got a little. Come on, give us one more. We're trying to be greedy. Trying to be greedy. Fuck that. Oh, no, SPY. SPX. All right, let's see if we can be greedy one more time. Greed, 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 greed. Uh-oh, not a gap up. Oh, shit. My shit about to die. Oh, fuck. Hold on. Please don't die on me. There we go. Okay. Took my charger out. Smack the little 30s. You see what I'm saying? Alright. Alright, now leave a runner. What's the fun part about all this? You really can just buy a couple, let them smack, sell them. Shit, too easy. Alright. My thing is like, do I leave the runner? Or do I sell it once I hit like a crazy target? 40%, 50%. Yeah, they move crazy, man. That shit moves insane. See, like, it doesn't even move with the... We need to get on Webull, bro. That's what we need to use. Webull candles would be accurate. 50. There we go. Put me in the money. Oh, my God. Come on, go crazy. Go crazy. Go stupid. Go stupid. We in here acting up. How long we got? We got 5 minutes. Come on, let my last runner do something crazy for me. Can you do something for me? SPX, can you do something for me? 60. Oh, yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. I like. SPY trying to get a little push into the close, too. There we go. There we go. We're pushing. We're 80%. Come on, don't play around. All right, I'm gonna take it. Gotta take it, man. I gotta take it. Sorry. Gotta take it, bro. You got to, bro. You can't be greedy with this kind of shit. This shit really can go. You know what I'm saying? It'll go instantly against you. So you don't want to be greedy as hell, like, oh, it's a little bit more. Smackaroons. That's what we call smackaroons. Yeah, we did that shit twice. You see this? You see that? Okay, bet. 5 minutes before the close. Come on, man. None of these fake ass guru traders ain't on here doing this, bro. They're not. They losing all the live trades, I promise you. I was looking at some, I ain't gonna say no names, obviously, but I was looking at some traders. I'm like, You sure y'all trade, bro? I swear I've never seen y'all actually make money on live. Not verifiable. I ain't never seen them make no real verifiable cash. And it'd be some big names too. I'd be like, what? And you'll see all these expose videos like, yo, this person's using a fake broker. I'm like, no. Unregulated brokers. I'm like, see, that's the first sign. Motherfuckers using fake brokers. The fuck is that? Cut geeked. Alright. Oh shit. Fuck, bro, this shit takes it's so slow when it comes to loading. Yeah, see how I played out? Literally drew it. A little cup, you got a little handle. It's literally that easy, man. Once you start to figure shit out, bro, you're damn near unstoppable, man. I promise you. Yeah, so we did actually come exactly to yesterday's close. So we checked it off the previous day's close. And yeah, man, I'm probably gonna go ahead and film the YouTube video just so we can, go ahead and get a little game plan going. 2 minutes left till close. You're gonna stay for aftermath earnings call? Yeah, I'll probably stay for Amazon. But I'm gonna shut this down real quick. Smoke some za real quick, and then I gotta rename the live. So I gotta name it to like Amazon Live earnings or something like that. We get on here, talk hella shit. How we just banked, caught 100% 3 times. What I'm talking about? We really do this shit, man. Motherfuckers not doing this shit for real. They not. Yeah. Shit crazy, bro. All right, minute left. You're gonna end us on a unconfirmed note. You gotta hate it. You gotta hate it. So no swings. Not swinging anything going into tomorrow. It's crazy. So other than Amazon, of course, definitely gotta do Amazon. But yeah, nothing else. Not swinging anything else. This was gorgeous out there. That would have been a beautiful little short. But we can't catch them all. We damn near can, but not every time. Not every time. All right, let's look at, is Amazon doing earnings immediately after? What time is their earnings call? I really just want to set an alert right here. 780, 280, my fault. We get to 280. I'll be happy as hell. All right, we can get rid of this. Smacked. Get rid of this. Smacked. What the hell was that? What the fuck? Whoa, don't tell me they whacked that bitch real quick. Whoa. Not the cause did a little Jamba Juice jump on me. Oh my God. That's actually crazy as hell. What the hell? Is that earnings? Oh. No way. Contracts went from $2 to 150. Oh my God, that's a 50x, bro. Oh my God, that is crazy. Yo, that is fucking crazy. Bro, look at that. The last runner, remember I was like, I'm just holding a runner, just let it zero out. Bro, look, the last runner magically said, right back. Bro, you cannot make this shit up, bro. I swear to God, you cannot make this shit up. You can't make this up, bro. This is the funniest shit ever, I swear. But that's crazy. I just made like $100 right there. There we go. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna call it. No. Fuck. I'm gonna go ahead and call it. Damn, Amazon, what they missed. It's all good. See, this is why I said it's why it's good. I sold the other ones and we just hold the one, because that way, just in case it goes wrong, you ain't gotta be. Look, they want to give us the 5-day test into the close, which is, I ain't tripping. It's fine. But look, see, the 5-day was your main target. Smacked. This was crazy though. That one candle is stupid. So yeah, like I said, not swinging anything going into tomorrow. No point. Right? You have a green day, man. You don't have to be trying to catch every single move because realistically, you're just not going to. You're not going to catch every move. But I'm gonna go ahead and film. I'm gonna go ahead and film the YouTube video, the recap for today. I'm gonna drop that. Go ahead and post it on the YouTube channel. Go ahead and get ready for that. So we'll go over all the trades we took today, why we took them, and then we'll look for what we're looking for tomorrow. So yeah, we finally got the 5, which is fucking crazy as hell. But all right, Amazon done. Yeah, I think they released the earnings already. But yeah, you can't, wait for the earnings call. Anything. Oh shit. Yeah, anything can happen, right? With earnings call. So fuck it. Hey, we ball. So I'll see y'all in probably like a little bit. We've been on for 2 hours, 2-hour stream. Amazing stream. Like I said, if y'all need anything, watch the videos. Hit me in the Discord. I'm about to drop a video. I'll see y'all.